Hi and welcome back to the cottage. Today I'm going to be talking about sentimental items, and I'm going to be going through my own personal collection of photos and newspaper clippings by using the Konmari method of decluttering and tidying to guide me along my way. I also want to share in this video a few different ways that I have plans to display some of these sentimental items and also to store them in a little bit more dignified way so that they can be accessed a lot easier and that we can get the most enjoyment from them. So I have to say that everyone has their own way of storing sentimental items, and usually they aren't a way that necessarily gives these special items the most care. For me, we have these 3 boxes here, and I have to say that what generally has happened through the years is that if we get a photo printed out or a newspaper clipping, for example, we just shove them basically right into these boxes and don't ever really look at them again. And that's really not a way to store something that you do actually care about. So these 3 boxes here are sort of a time capsule of my family's life over the last maybe 15, 20 years or so. And I am really curious what I have in here that I don't need to keep around anymore, because as I've gone through my minimalism journey, I've come to realize that certain things that I might have tucked away in these boxes years ago aren't the types of things that I care to save anymore. And so by using the Konmari method, I'm going to slowly whittle down this collection of sentimental items into something more manageable, and also just keep the things that truly do spark joy for me and my family. The first step in the Konmari method is to group like items together. And so today I have my sentimental items, and I'm going to lay everything out in one large group. That can be a little bit overwhelming, but that is kind of the point when it comes to using this Konmari method. It's showing the sheer volume of items that fit into one particular category, and that's sort of just an eye-opening moment for a person to kind of see how many of one type of thing that they have. Of course, seeing a bed piled high with clothing and knowing you can only wear one outfit at a time is a little different than looking at photos and other sentimental things, because we do plan to store some of these sentimental items and keep them around even if they aren't used on a daily basis. And in fact, that's why Marie Kondo actually recommends having a specific order to the tidying process that starts with the clothing, which is relatively easy to go through and determine which items are your favorites, and working all the way through the various categories of clothes, books, papers, kimono, which is the miscellaneous items, and the very last category to tackle is the special sentimental items. And so if you're someone who is just starting out with minimalism and just starting to simplify your life, I definitely don't recommend that you start with this category of items, because it is a little bit more difficult to go through. And I, in fact, am going to be sorting a bit today, but I don't plan to get all of this done in one day. This is a process that will take some time, and I'm not going to rush it just for the sake of a video. I'm just going to kind of show you the steps that I'm going to be taking as I go through these sentimental items. The next step in this process that I'm going to take is to separate the items into smaller subcategories. So I'm going to have a grouping of photos and then another grouping for newspaper clippings. And this is going to help me see, for example, if there's duplicate photos of one particular event, I can kind of look through those and see which 1 or 2 are my favorites and keep those, and maybe toss out the others. So it sort of helps me to further define which items are the ones I want to keep. So I would consider the second step of the process to be sort of a high-level decluttering. There's going to be some things that you're going to come across that will be obvious that you will want to discard. Maybe they got into the bin by accident, or it's something you no longer value. And you can just go ahead and set these items in the discard pile before continuing on with step 3. So there are certain things in this pile that I used to hold on to and stuff away in these boxes that are no longer things that our family keeps. And one of those examples is Christmas cards. Now with Christmas cards, we enjoy them for the season and then they're discarded. but I have a lot of Christmas cards I see already in this pile that are from years ago, and so I'm gonna look through them. I know that some of them are photo Christmas cards, so I'll look through them and maybe smile and laugh a little bit about how much that we've aged and grown over the years. And then these items will be discarded, and that's an easy decision that I can make now because of how we have already made the decision not to keep the Christmas cards, but there's plenty of other things within this pile that will take a lot more time and a lot more thought. The third step using the Konmari method is one that will take the most time. This involves looking through each and every item very carefully and thoughtfully, and then making decisions of which items spark joy for you or not. There is something a little bit sad about discarding a photo, and I think part of that comes to feeling that you're throwing away that memory, or you're even, giving disrespect to the person whose photo you're throwing away. And it's just important to remember that that is not the case. You're simply looking for the best representation of these memories that you can really cherish and hold on to. One important thing to note about the Konmari method is that there is no set number about what is the right amount of something to keep. It's all about understanding what brings you joy and what you feel comfortable with. And so some people might find boxes filled with photos or albums filled with photos to be very joy-bringing in their lives, while others look to only own a few photos that they can frame and display on their walls. So don't feel bad if, as you're going through your sentimental items, you find yourself holding on to a lot more photos than what you think might be considered the right number of photos to keep, because truth is there is no right number and you get to make that decision. The fourth and final step in the Konmari process is to organize any items that you have chosen to keep and then either store or display them appropriately. Now I want to share with you a few of the different ways that I plan to display some of the items that we choose to keep here in our home to give them a bit more prominence and so that we can enjoy them the most. One thing that we do have here that we've already been using is this little display board that we had made out of an old window. The little clips are glued or fastened onto the backing of this window, and then we can just change out photos throughout the different months and weeks of the year. And so I hope to use this a little bit more now that my photos are going to be organized and actually take them through, let's say it's a birthday month for one of our kids, we can take out some old photos of them through the years and display them on this board and just really use this a little bit more than we have been doing in the past. Another way that I plan to display some of the little mementos is by making up some of these nice shadow boxes. And this is one that I had made years ago actually when my husband and I ran a marathon together. And you can see it does have a couple of photos. It also has our bib numbers and our tickets and our medals that we won. And so this is just a fun way to display things that are more than just photos. I also do want to make a memory box for each of our children that can hold their own special memories, that we can put some photos and some different mementos that they get, and just so they have their own little spot to keep these things. Currently, I don't have anything like this, and so I think maybe sorting through some of these sentimental items and getting them in their specific boxes would be a good idea as well. And the biggest, grandest plan that I have to keep these sentimental items so that they're easily accessible is to either purchase or to build an apothecary style cabinet. I've been searching for a cabinet like this for years, and besides the fact that they cost a lot of money, being able to find one that has the exact dimensions that I would want here for the cottage is going to be really tricky. So I have a feeling that Craig is going to have to make something, and if he does, I'll be sure to put that here on the channel to show you the process. So the general idea behind this is that there would be a lot of smaller drawers, and that those drawers would have the card catalog pulls on them, which I could label for a date range, maybe 2 to 5 years within each drawer. And the great thing about a system like this is that it's so easily accessible by anyone visiting the home. You can just pull out a drawer. I actually have had visions of my husband and I as grandparents and having one of the grandkids go and grab a drawer from the cabinet and bring it to us to cozy up on the couch and asking us to tell the stories that the pictures represent. And just the thought of that sparks joy in my heart and brings a smile to my face. I hope this video gave you a little bit of guidance or direction if you're just starting to look through your own collection of sentimental items. Kind of gives you some ideas on how to tackle this large and somewhat overwhelming category. If you are starting out with this, make sure that you allow yourself plenty of time. This is not something that needs to be rushed through. Be sure to take the time to read all those special letters and look through all of those photos and really soak in those memories. If you have any ideas or tips on ways that you have found to display or store creatively these sentimental items, I'd love to hear about that down in the comments below. We can chat down there. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.